Welcome to the presentation on pre-K parent information. We're redoing this because some people unfortunately couldn't attend last week's presentation, and there were some technical difficulties with the slides. So we're putting the presentation and the slides together because we don't want anyone to miss this very important information. So the objectives for this presentation are hopefully that we're going to share a lot of information about the Whitney Point Pre-K program. And we're going to give you information about what to expect from the program and hopefully provide some answers to questions that you might have. So Whitney Point has a long history with pre-K. This dates back to the 1990s, and initially we only had half-day programs for 4-year-olds. In 2014, we applied for and received a grant so that we could expand the half-day into full-day programs. And then in 2017, we were one of the very fortunate districts that received grant money to expand into pre-K 3. And then in 2019, we could even add more classrooms. So last year, during the 2021 school year, we had 10 pre-K classrooms. And this year, in 21-22, we have 9 pre-K classrooms. The New York State grants require that you collaborate with community partners. And we're very fortunate that we can work together with long respected, experienced childcare and preschool providers in our community. So the district partners with opportunities for Broome and Shenango, that's the Head Start program, the Whitney Point Preschool and Daycare, and of course, families. And families are probably the most important partner that we have because you know your children and you're their first and best teachers. These are some of the staff that you'll see in the preschool program. This district has a new assistant superintendent, that's Ms. Shannon Gillette, a new CEA principal, that's Mrs. Molly Guzman, and my name is Mary Hibbard, and I am the early childhood coordinator working part-time with the district in that capacity. At Greater Opportunities for Broome and Shenango, the Director of Head Start is Mrs. Amy Gagin, and the Director of Education is Mrs. Danielle Dibble. The Whitney Point Preschool and Daycare Center has a new director this year, and that's Ms. Angela Vanderwert, taking the place of Kim Downs, who's been a long time member and director of the Whitney Point Preschool. The teachers at the Adams Building are Mrs. Tracy Pfeiffer, and that's pre-K 4, Miss Rochelle Lawrence, and Mrs. Courtney Whalen. Greater Opportunities for Broome and Shenango Head Start, Ms. Brianna Romaine and Ms. Sarah Winterstein. And then at the Whitney Point Preschool and Daycare, Ms. Priscilla Ogando Mateo, Ms. Stephanie Roser, Ms. Erin Snashell, and Ms. Ashley Lyons. And Ashley Lyons will be at Saving Grace with pre-K 4. So partners, having partners in the community is more than just saying you have partners. It's also going through an active partnering process. So we work very closely together as a pre-K program. The teachers meet regularly together. In past years, it's been once each week, and I expect that that will continue. And during those meetings, we talk about curriculum, we share practices, we do problem solving together, we do some professional development together, and we share expectations. We just met last week for half a day to look at some of our data from the end of last year and create some goals and set some expectations for our program for this year. So working together is really ingrained in the program, and we're truly a pre-K team. We want to make sure that we communicate with parents as best as we can. You can be assured that teachers will invite you to parent-teacher conferences. On the school calendar, there are 2 dates set aside for that this fall and 1 date in the spring. Pre-K4 parents will be getting report cards quarterly, as do the rest of the K through 12 students. In addition, preschool teachers will also invite you to join Remind. And that's a messaging service right on your phone. And it's a very quick way for teachers to send messages. They can send photos. You can message teachers. It's very easy to use. If you haven't had any experience with it yet, the teachers will help you with that. Another way that we communicate is through Seesaw. And that's an app that will be on a student's iPad device. But please, you can feel free to contact teachers at any time. If you email them or message them during the day, they might not be able to get right back to you at that second because they do have 15 or 16 students to take care of. But rest assured, at some point when they have a moment, they will get back to you. So what do parents need to know? Well, one of the first things is that pre-K is not just childcare. It's a very busy day, and it's every toy and every activity is available to students with great intention. So teachers will work to support your child's physical development, social and emotional development, language, literacy, and mathematics, and thinking and cognitive skills. New York State has provided us with some guidance documents in the form of the New York State Early Learning Guidelines and the New York State Pre-Kindergarten Learning Standards. And those 2 documents help inform our curricular decisions. And given the information in those documents, we have adopted the creative curriculum from Teaching Strategies, which provides a framework for teachers to plan learning experiences that are appropriate and interesting to children in the classroom. The curriculum addresses language and literacy, math, science, physical skills, and social and emotional skills. It's based on thematic units of study that children have some base knowledge of, but are very interested in learning more about, such as trees and buildings, insects. We've done balls, exercise. It's really fun to watch children's curiosity grow and their eagerness to learn more about these subjects. Along with the curriculum, of course, we have some assessments. And the first one will be the developmental indicators for the assessment of learning. And that is a screening device that's given to any student that's new to the program. And it's required by the state as a screener, just to make sure that we're not missing any learning issues that we should be aware of. If a student took it in pre-K3, they will not have to take it in pre-K4. But if they're new to the program as a pre-K4 student, the teacher will give that to them this fall within the first few weeks of school. The other assessment that we use is Teaching Strategies Gold, or TS Gold. And that is an assessment that we give 3 times a year. And it really assesses developments to the objectives that are part of the creative curriculum. And it helps inform our report card reporting. In addition to those assessments, there'll be some screenings that your pre-K children will have. They'll get a speech screening if they're new to the program. And if there are any indicators of concern, certainly you will be contacted. Otherwise, you won't hear anything. At some point, they'll have a hearing screening and a vision screening. Last year, given COVID protocols, we did not conduct those. So depending on what the health department says this year, will determine whether or not those are administered during this school year. So what will your child do in pre-K? It's a busy, busy day from the minute they walk in the door to the minute they leave to go home. And the teachers plan a day that gives children opportunity to learn to interact socially and opportunities to make friends, learn to cooperate, solve problems with others, learn to play by yourself, learn how to manage your emotions. And children have an opportunity to choose and explore in different centers in the pre-K room. Center time allows children to engage in dramatic play, learn with math manipulatives, spend time with books, venture into writing, create using art materials, build with blocks, explore science, and express themselves with music. Children are given opportunities to create artwork that demonstrates their learning, and they can share it with their friends. They oftentimes get to hang it up in the classroom, and of course, they'll be bringing pictures home to you. Children are read to and given the opportunity to imaginatively add to stories. Literature is a big part of what we do in the pre-K classroom. Quiet time is provided so children can explore books and begin to develop more of an appreciation for reading and all that books have to offer. Movement and physical activity is infused throughout the day, whether it's at circle time and movements to a song, whether it's in the gross motor room, whether it's outside on the playground. There are lots of activities for movement throughout our day. There are also some activities designed to work on fine motor skills, and oftentimes these are tied in with our units of study. Here you see a student hammering golf tees into a pumpkin. There are activities using Play-Doh, using tongs to pick up and move items, bending pipe cleaners, all sorts of activities to work on fine motor skill development. And of course, there's gross motor skill development where we work on students' strength and coordination and stamina. So they get to play outside on days when the weather's nice. And we do have gross motor areas available in all of the sites have a space where kids can play inside if the weather is inclement. Children eat breakfast and lunch and snack in their classroom with their friends and teachers. And it's important that if your child has any dietary allergies or restrictions, that they be reported and a doctor's note provided. Our cafeteria is really very dedicated and concerned about meeting the dietary requirements for all of our children. And we transport food to the Head Start and to Whitney Point Preschool. So all of that paperwork comes through the office at the CEA and the health office. So you make sure that we know about any concerns that you have. Children are also allowed to bring their own lunch if they prefer, or their own snack, but lunch is provided and breakfast and snacks are provided. And of course, children have an opportunity to rest. At the beginning of the year, we find that many of the 4-year-olds are still sleeping for a little bit. By the end of the year, we don't see many kids actually sleeping. But it is an important time for them just to kind of have a few minutes of quiet time. So the components of a daily schedule, we would look something like this. You have, when the students come in, they're greeted and they get to talk with their friends while doing some table time activities. One of the first things they do, though, is they have their own cubbies. So that's where they hang their coats and their backpacks. And then they would wash their hands. Hand washing is a very important part of the pre-K day. They wash hands frequently, before meals, after meals, before using or after using the restroom, between centers. When they leave one center and go to another, they would sanitize their hands. Sometimes they wash with soap and water. At other times we used hand sanitizer. Certainly their breakfast, lunch, and snack time is built into the day. Circle time usually happens in the morning. It's when everyone comes together. They do calendar activities, study the weather. They learn about each other and their friends in the classroom. They review what's going to happen during the day and make choices for center time. And then center time is a large component of the day, and each classroom is arranged into several learning centers. There's mathematics and manipulatives, dramatic play, blocks and building, science and discovery, literacy, creative arts, music, and movement. And children get to pick what center they'd like to go to. And then throughout center time, they would rotate to several different centers, usually in about 15-minute time cycles. So that's a fun time for kids and they like it. Cleanup. Children learn when it's time to stop an activity. They follow directions and put away toys and materials where they belong. This takes cooperation from the entire classroom community, and every student plays a part. There's story time, which is sometimes incorporated into circle time, or it's a separate circle time later in the day, where teachers read to children from a variety of materials: big books, rhymes, thematic literature, and children's stories. Reading and discussing books develops concepts about print and vocabulary, as well as enhancing listening and comprehension skills. There's individual and small group instruction, and that can happen during center time. The teacher will call up a student or a small group of students to receive instruction on a particular, at their level, to meet a particular goal. Could be literacy, language, or math concepts and fine motor skills. There's story time. Oh, we talked about story time. Gross motor activity. That's also a time that's scheduled in the day so that we make sure that students get time to engage in those activities. Mask breaks, certainly. When children eat, they're allowed to take off their masks, but sometimes they need a little break during other times during the day so that they can sit in their seat and they can take their masks off. And of course, when we go out to play, masks are optional, so students get a break from them then also. There's rest time. And then when children get up from rest, there's time to participate in some table time activities. Teachers have tubs and bins full of things that can be done at tables. And then it's snack time. And then it's dismissal time, time to pack up and get ready to go home. So the day is full. Children are tired by the end, but they've had lots of fun throughout the day because they get lots of choices in what they play with, and they make new friends. So transportation is available for pre-K students. They ride the regular bus with the other elementary children. Students younger than 4 will have safety seats on the bus. And an adult must be present to put pre-K children on the bus and greet the bus at the end of the day. If we don't see a parent, we will not let a pre-K child off the bus. So it's imperative that you're there to greet the bus. Adults meeting the bus are asked to assist in fastening seat belts for pre-K children younger than 4. If your child rides the bus and attends a program the Head Start site or a Whitney Point preschool site, they will first come to the Adams building and we'll wait together in the cafeteria. And then when a bus finishes its bus run, they'll come back to the Adams building and the children will be transported to Head Start or Whitney Point preschool. You should have gotten or will be getting soon a bus tag in the mail, and that tells us where your child should go at the end of the day. That's how we know what bus to put them on. So if you have different transportation arrangements, you need to make sure that the bus garage is aware of those. That tag, it should be put on your child's backpack in a way that's somewhat permanent, either with a big safety pin or a plastic zip tie, because that's important that we can call your child by name, know what bus they ride on, and who their teacher is. So that part's very important. If you have other questions about transportation, you should call the bus garage, and that number will be is on our website. They're very helpful, and they're doing all they can to make sure that transportation for pre-K4 is smooth and timely. So back to school, we still have some COVID-19 protocols in place. In fact, it looks quite similar to last year. Pre-K 3 and 4 students are required to wear masks. We know that's tough for some children, and we're very sensitive to that and aware of that. But also, it's important that your child have a mask that fits well and that's comfortable, and that can stay in place. I know that's a lot of, sometimes it doesn't seem like it's possible to have a mask that's comfortable, but it is. And we found last year that children really, it became second nature to them. So, but you are required to supply your child's masks, and it's helpful if they have an extra one or two in their backpack that they bring to school every day, just in case something happens. Periodically, I don't know, they'll sneeze or try to take a drink and their mask gets wet, or they're outside and it's hot and sweaty and their mask gets a little damp, and that would make it uncomfortable. So it would be nice to have one in a little Ziploc baggie in their backpack that we could change them out. Remote learning was a reality, certainly for us last year, although electing to do remote learning is not an option this year. There may be times when classes are quarantined and we would engage in remote learning. For that to happen, each student has an iPad that will be theirs to use throughout this school year. It's loaded with software for the pre-K program. And one of the software packages that's on there is called Seesaw. And that they'll do a Seesaw activity in school every day with either their teacher. It'll be one of the things that they do during center time. It's a quick activity. It takes maybe 5-10 minutes at the most, but it's how students will be learning to turn on their iPad, to adjust the volume, to find the different programs. And in Seesaw, the learning activities will reinforce the skill development that's happening in the classroom, but they'll also learn to drop and drag, they'll learn to submit work, they'll learn to take a picture of their work. So very important technology skills that they'll be learning. These iPads will most likely be coming home every day, and they can just stay right in the backpack and come back to school, because we often don't know that a class will be quarantined until after school hours, so that they need to have their iPads at home. And teachers will be telling parents how to get to where the lessons are, because we will be posting lessons and a lesson plan. And during remote learning days, the teachers will have a class Zoom meeting. So all of the kids will log on at the same time with parental help or daycare provider help. And they'll have a lesson, and then they'll find out what their seesaw activities will be. So last year it was very seamless as we moved in and out of quarantine situations. So I'm anticipating that it would be seamless this year as well. Certainly not as ideal as being in class, but a great option nonetheless for the days that we can't be here. And that's submitting work on remote days is part of the way we determine attendance. So that's important to follow through with those lessons. We haven't been able to have the Meet Your Child's Teacher activities that we've had in years previous to COVID, but we have arranged some visits. Whitney Point Preschool's visit will be Thursday, September 2nd, and they are sending a letter home to the parents of children that will be in those programs. They will have an event outside, but you will get to meet the teachers. And there are 2 new teachers there this year, so parents will want to meet them and say hello. CEA and Head Start will have parent visitation on Wednesday, September 8th, and teachers will be sending messages via email to have parents sign up for a specific time. Head Start will have sometimes during the day as well as after school, and CEA will have times from 4 until 6 p.m. And parents, unfortunately, will only be able to sign up for a 10-minute visitation slot, and only one parent will be able to attend with the child. But you'll be able to walk in the front door. We'll have folks here to help you find your child's classroom, and you'll see where the cubbies are. You'll meet the teachers. Your child will see where they'll hang their belongings, and get a quick glimpse of all of the toys. And the teacher might even have something for you to take home and do. You never know. But it's a nice time to meet the teacher and kind of diminish some fears that children might have. At your teacher visitation, you will receive a copy of the Whitney Point Pre-Kindergarten Parent Handbook. It has much of the information that you've heard in this presentation, but there are some additional pieces like the pre-kindergarten program philosophy, a list of some core beliefs, and there's a section on parent and resources and community supports. So you might want to take a few minutes to review those pages. Attendance is important in the pre-K program, and attendance is, once a child is in the pre-K program, they're actually in our student management system. So all children, whether they're Head Start, Whitney Point Preschool, or in the Adams building for pre-K, they are considered Whitney Point students. So they're in our student management system, and attendance is monitored through that system, and we have to report on it. So it's important that if your child is healthy, that they come to school consistently, because that helps get them ready for kindergarten. So attendance is expected Monday through Friday at the program, and our school year follows the school district's calendar. So you'll see that on the district's website. Hopefully you received a copy at home in the mail also. And the first day of school for pre-kindergartners is Thursday, September 9th, the same as K through 12 students. So we talked a little bit about remote learning. If there are times when we have to use the remote learning option, It's helpful if you have some supplies at home, things like a deck of cards, food coloring, buttons, crayons, markers, colored pencils, magnetic letters, Duplos, a tote or tub or a sink for water play, balloons, paints, clothespins, pinchy clothespins, cotton balls, pom-poms, colored construction paper, drawing paper, blank writing paper, glue sticks, child-sized scissors, Play-Doh recipe and ingredients. Because some of the activities that teachers may design for that day might use some of these kinds of supplies. And they're the kinds of supplies that kids like to play with anyway, so they're always good to have on hand. Now, these are not supplies that your child needs to bring to school. The only things that they need to bring to school would be a change of clothes. That should be in their backpack, an extra mask or two, and a water bottle. Those are the only things that they would need from home. Anything that they would use here, pencils, crayons, paint, scissors, we will provide all of that. So don't worry about sending crayons or anything like that with your child to school. Just a change of clothes, an extra mask, and a water bottle. And then, of course, once the school year is underway, they'll also have their iPad in their backpack. So we had a time for questions and answers during the presentation last week. And there were quite a few questions that centered around the transportation. And Ken Leet from the bus garage was there. And I've tried to incorporate some of the information that he shared with us. But if you have further questions on transportation, please call the bus garage and they'll be very willing to help you out. There were questions about masks, and we tried to assure people that we understand that some children might not be used to wearing masks yet, but encourage you to practice a little bit at home, especially with pre-K 3 children, so that they get used to the idea. I'm not anticipating that when you put a mask on them for the first time at home, that they're going to wear them for an hour, but practice for a few minutes at a time. And I think you'll quickly see that children get very used to the idea, and we'll work on that also here at school. If you have any other questions, please feel free to contact the site where your child's program is located, Head Start or Whitney Point Preschool or the Adams Building office, and we'd be happy to get you information or answer your questions in any way that we can, because it's a pre-K is a wonderful experience, and we want it to be as happy for you as it is for your children, because together we are a team, and we're going to work to get your children ready for kindergarten, to learn together and to play together and make lots of great friends and develop relationships with people here in the buildings at their sites. So thank you for listening, and we hope to meet you this fall.